Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. My name is Malcolm Reed. I am 34 years old, and I should have seen it coming. But sitting at that Thanksgiving table surrounded by my wife's entire family, I genuinely thought we were just having dinner. Her parents hosted every year at their house in the suburbs outside Houston. Turkey, stuffing, macaroni and cheese, candied yams, the whole traditional setup. Her mother spent days preparing everything. I brought wine and helped set up extra chairs in the dining room earlier that afternoon, feeling like I was doing my part. We sat down around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Her father carved the turkey with slow, practiced motions while her mother brought out side dishes and set them along the middle of the long wooden table. Her sister and brother-in-law were there with their 2 kids, who were already eyeing the rolls. Her uncle and aunt were on one side, and her grandmother sat at the head of the table like she always did, small but steady, wearing a soft blue cardigan and her pearl earrings. Everything seemed normal at first. We passed plates around, made polite small talk about work and the weather and how bad traffic had been on the way in. Someone commented on the football game playing in the living room. I felt relaxed, comfortable, even like this was one of those rare family moments where nothing could go wrong. I should have known better. With Aisha, peace usually had an expiration date. About halfway through the meal, her cousin Darren asked me how my job was going. He wiped his mouth with his napkin and said, "So, Malcolm, how is work these days? Still busy?" Before I could answer, Aisha cut in quickly, her voice light, but with an edge that made my shoulders tense. "Oh, the same old thing," Aisha said, waving her fork like a pointer. "Nothing exciting. He just goes to work and comes home. That is about it." She laughed, but there was something sharp underneath the laugh that did not sound like joking. Her brother-in-law Marcus chuckled. "Sounds like most of us," Marcus said. He took a sip of his drink and shrugged. "Get up, go to work, come home, repeat forever. That is adulthood, right?" Aisha kept going, clearly not interested in letting the moment pass. "Yes, but at least you have interesting stories," she said, looking at Marcus and Darren. "You all travel, go out, have people over. Malcolm barely does anything around the house either. I am the one keeping everything together." Her voice was loud enough that everyone at the table could hear every word. I looked at her. She was smiling, but her eyes were sharp and bright, almost daring. This was not playful teasing. This was something else. A few years ago, I might have laughed it off and told myself she was just stressed. That evening, the way she looked at me and then away told a different story. Her sister Patrice joined in without missing a beat. "Men, right?" Patrice said, rolling her eyes. "They never help as much as they should. I swear if I did not nag Andre, nothing would get done in our house." She laughed, and a couple of people at the table laughed with her. Aisha nodded enthusiastically, clearly enjoying the support. "Exactly. That is what I am talking about," she said. "I mean, I am grateful Malcolm has a job, but honestly, it is exhausting picking up all the slack. Sometimes I feel like I have 3 full-time jobs." Her tone sounded rehearsed, like something she had said many times before when I was not around. I set my fork down carefully, forcing my hands to stay steady. "What slack are you talking about?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. I already knew I would not like the answer, but I did not want to let it hang in the air, unchallenged. She waved her hand dismissively, as if I were being childish. "Oh, come on, do not get defensive," Aisha said. "I'm just being honest with my family. We're all grown here. I'm allowed to vent, right?" She gave her mother a quick, exaggerated smile, like she expected a laugh or some kind of approval. Her mother tried to change the subject, clearly uncomfortable. "Who wants more cranberry sauce?" she asked, lifting the bowl slightly. Her voice had that brittle sound it got when she wanted to redirect the room without calling attention to the tension. But Aisha was not done. She leaned back in her chair and addressed the whole table now, her voice rising just enough to command attention. "I mean, let's be honest," she said. "He is pretty useless around the house. I do all the cooking, all the cleaning, all the planning, and financially," she laughed again, sharper this time, "let us just say I am carrying most of that weight too." The room grew noticeably quieter. Her father cleared his throat and pushed some turkey around his plate. Her uncle looked down at his mashed potatoes and pretended to be fascinated by them. The kids, who had been chattering a few minutes earlier, went quiet, sensing something was wrong even if they did not understand the details. I stayed calm, although heat slowly climbed up the back of my neck. "That is interesting," I said, keeping my tone steady, considering I've been handling the mortgage payments and most of the bills for the past 3 years. I did not raise my voice. I did not need to. Aisha rolled her eyes dramatically. "Oh, please," she said. "You act like you're doing me some huge favor. It is called being married. That is what you are supposed to do. You do not get a medal for paying bills." She stabbed a piece of turkey a little harder than necessary. Her cousin's wife, Renee, shifted uncomfortably in her chair. The kids started fidgeting again, looking toward the living room as if they wanted permission to leave the table. Her grandmother, who had been quietly cutting her turkey into small bites, suddenly stopped. She set her fork down and looked up, her eyes sharp and clear. "Enough," her grandmother said. Her voice was not loud, but it cut through every other sound in the room. Conversation stopped immediately. Aisha's father put down his glass. Her uncle paused with his fork halfway to his mouth. It felt like the air itself had frozen. Aisha tried to smile. "Grandma, I am just," she began. "I said enough," her grandmother repeated. She carefully set down her napkin and looked directly at Aisha, then at me, then back at Aisha again. There was no confusion in her eyes, only disappointment and resolve. "You want to talk about who is useless," she said. "Let us talk about who has been paying your student loans for the past 4 years. Aisha's face went pale so fast it was like someone had flipped a switch. "What?" she said. Her voice cracked on a single word. The table fell completely silent. Even the kids stopped shifting in their seats. Her grandmother continued, her voice steady and firm. "The bank called me 3 weeks ago," she said. "They meant to call you, but they had my number listed as the secondary contact from when I co-signed your first loan back in college. They were confirming the automatic payments. They thought I was the one making them. But I am not, Aisha stammered. That is a mistake." "It is not a mistake," her grandmother said. She turned her gaze to me for a brief moment, then back to Aisha. "Your husband has been making those payments. $800 a month for 4 years. While you have been telling everyone that you are handling everything and that he is dead weight." She shook her head slowly. "I raised you better than this." Her mother's mouth dropped open. Her father put down his fork very slowly, as if he were afraid of making a sound. Patrice stared at Aisha like she had never seen her before. I said nothing. I just watched Aisha scramble inside her own lies, searching for a way out. "Grandma, you do not understand," Aisha said quickly. "We share finances. It is complicated." I did not lie. Her grandmother cut her off again. "Do not insult my intelligence," she said. "I'm old, but I am not a fool. I know exactly what is happening here. You have been lying to everyone about who does what in your marriage, and now you are standing at this table calling him useless, as if none of us can see what is right in front of us." Aisha looked around the table desperately, searching for support. Nobody met her eyes. Her mother looked like she might be sick. Her father stared at the wall. Darren looked down at his plate. Marcus took a long drink of water and did not look up. The silence pressed in from all sides. Her grandmother pushed her chair back slowly and stood up, leaning on the table for support. She looked at me with something like sympathy, but there was steel in her posture. "Divorce her," she said clearly. "You deserve better than this." The silence that followed was absolute. Even the football game in the next room seemed to fade into the background. Aisha's face was bright red now, her eyes wide and wet. "Grandma, you cannot just." "I can." "And I did," her grandmother said. She sat back down, picked up her napkin, and calmly resumed eating as if nothing had happened. It was one of the most surreal moments of my life. I felt like I was watching a scene in a movie, except that my entire marriage was the plot. I pushed back from the table and stood up. Every pair of eyes in the room followed me. "I'm going home," I said quietly. "Thank you for dinner, Mrs. Jackson." My voice felt strangely distant, like it was coming from someone else. Aisha grabbed my arm as I turned away. Her fingers dug into my sleeve. "Wait, you cannot just leave," she said. "We need to talk about this. You are overreacting. We can explain." I looked down at her hand on my arm, then at her face. "No," I said. "We do not." I gently pulled free and walked toward the front door. Behind me, I could hear her voice rise, trying to explain, trying to shape the narrative even as it shattered. Her family did not sound convinced. I walked out into the cool evening air, my chest tight and strange. I got into my car, started the engine, and drove home alone, leaving her to face what she had created. The drive felt longer than usual, even though it was only 30 minutes back to our house. My thoughts raced, replaying every moment of the dinner in slow motion. I got home around 6 o'clock. The house was quiet. The soft ticking of the clock in the hallway sounded louder than usual. I turned on a single lamp in the living room and sat on the couch without taking off my shoes, just trying to process everything that had happened. I felt numb and oddly calm at the same time, like my body had not caught up with the shock yet. About an hour later, the front door opened and slammed shut. Aisha's heels clicked sharply against the hardwood floor as she came into the kitchen and then into the living room. Her face was flushed with anger, not embarrassment. "Are you happy now?" she demanded. She threw her purse down on the counter with enough force that it slid and bumped into the wall. "You completely humiliated me in front of my entire family." I did not move from the couch. "I humiliated you?" I asked. My voice came out calm and flat, which seemed to irritate her even more. "Yes," she said. "You sat there and let my grandmother attack me like that. You could have said something. You could have defended me. You just sat there and let her talk to me like that." She folded her arms across her chest, as if she were the one who had been wronged. "Defended you from the truth?" I asked. She froze for a second, then recovered quickly. "It is not like that," Aisha said. She twisted everything. She made it sound like you have been the only one doing anything, like I have been some kind of villain. That is not what happened. You know that is not what happened. She paced back and forth, gesturing with her hands. "She did not twist anything," I said. "She just said out loud what you have been trying to keep quiet. You have been lying about me to your family for years." I turned on the lamp beside the couch. The warm light filled the room, making her look smaller and more exposed. Aisha looked defensive, angry, but underneath it I could see panic. "I never said I was paying your bills," she insisted. "I just said I was handling things. That is different. You were putting words in my mouth. You called me useless in front of everyone," I said. "You said you were carrying the financial weight. You let them believe that you are the one holding everything together while I just take up space. That is not different. That is lying." I could hear my heart beating in my ears. She lifted her chin. "I was exaggerating for effect," she said. "People do that. It is called venting. My family knows how I am. They know I joke around. You are being too sensitive." She shook her head like she was the reasonable one. "Venting," I repeated. "You humiliated me at Thanksgiving dinner and called it venting." I stared at her. "Your grandmother did not think it was a joke." Her face tightened. "My grandmother is old and confused," she said. "She should not have brought up private financial information like that. That was completely out of line. She had no right to expose our business in front of everyone." "She was not confused," I said. "She knew exactly what she was talking about. And now your whole family knows the truth. They know you have been lying about me for years." A long silence settled between us. Aisha started pacing again. "This is unbelievable," she said. "You are acting like I committed some horrible crime." So I exaggerated a little bit about who pays for what. "Big deal. Married couples do that all the time. They complain about each other. It does not mean they do not appreciate each other." "You did not exaggerate," I said quietly. "You lied. And you have been lying for years. You made me the punchline of your story, and you got comfortable with it." My hands were clenched together in my lap. She stopped pacing and pointed at me. "I never asked you to pay my loans," she said. "You offered. You said you wanted to help. You said we were a team." "I wanted to help," I said. "But I did not expect you to turn around and tell everyone that you were carrying me financially. That is a twisted way to repay support. You took my help and then used it against me in conversations where I was not there to defend myself." "I never said that specifically," she protested. "You are reading into things." She looked away, her jaw tight. "You implied it repeatedly," I replied. "Tonight was just the first time someone actually called you out on it." I thought of the way her cousins had looked at me over the years, the way conversations had shifted when I walked into the room. Suddenly, a lot of small moments started to make terrible sense. She sat down hard on the armchair and put her head in her hands. When she looked up again, her eyes were wet. "My family is never going to look at me the same way," she said quietly. "Do you understand that? My grandmother basically disowned me at the dinner table. She told you to divorce me. Do you know how that felt?" "She did not disown you," I said. Although I understand why you would feel that way. She called out your behavior. She told the truth. That is different. I did not raise my voice, but the words landed heavily between us. Her head snapped up. So you were thinking about it? She asked. Divorce? Are you seriously asking me that right now? After everything we have been through? Her voice shook between outrage and fear. After what you did tonight, I said, yes, I am thinking about it. I met her eyes. For once, I did not look away. She stood up again, switching tactics so fast it made me dizzy. Look, I messed up, she said. I admit it. I should not have said those things. I was stressed, and I took it out on you in front of everyone. But we can fix this. We can talk to my family. We can explain that it got out of hand. We can smooth things over. Explain what? I asked. That you have been disrespecting me publicly for years, and tonight you just went too far? That you have been telling half-truths and letting them believe the worst about me because it made you look better? That is not a misunderstanding. That is who you chose to be. That is not fair, she said. You are acting like I have never done anything for you, like I have never supported you. I have been there for you too. Your memory is very selective right now. Your grandmother had to defend me at Thanksgiving dinner, I said. Your own grandmother. Because you were too busy tearing me down to remember that I have been supporting you this whole time. I could still hear her grandmother's voice in my head, the quiet fury in it. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I know, she said. I know I screwed up, but do not let one bad night destroy our marriage. We can get through this. We just need time. We need to talk. We can go to counseling. We can fix it. One bad night. I shook my head slowly. This has been building for years. You have been dismissive, entitled, and ungrateful. Tonight, you just said it out loud in front of witnesses. Tonight was not the problem. Tonight just revealed the problem. So what? She asked. You were just going to give up after everything we built together? The house, our life, our plans? You were going to throw it all away over an argument at dinner. What have we built? I asked. A house I pay for, bills I cover, while you pretend you're doing me a favor by existing. A marriage where I walk on eggshells so you can feel like the heroine in your own story. That is not a partnership. She flinched. That is cruel, she said quietly. It is accurate, I replied. I stood up. My legs felt heavy, but the decision did not. You can sleep in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow we figure out next steps. The words felt final when I said them. She stood up, angry again. You are overreacting, she said. One fight, and you are ready to throw away our whole marriage. That is insane. Do you hear yourself? She looked at me, as if she could force me to back down with sheer disbelief. This was not one fight, I said. This was the culmination of years of you taking me for granted and expecting me to smile through it. I am done smiling through it. I stepped past her and walked toward the hallway. Fine, she said sharply. She grabbed her purse from the counter. If you want space, I will give you space. But when you calm down and think about this rationally, you're going to realize you are making a huge mistake. She walked up the stairs without looking back. A moment later, I heard the guest room door slam. I sat back down on the couch and pulled out my phone. There were 3 missed calls from her mother and 2 text messages from her grandmother. Her grandmother's message was simple. Call me when you get a chance. I meant what I said. I stared at the message for a long time before turning off my phone and closing my eyes. I knew tomorrow was going to be worse. But for the first time in a long time, the truth was out in the open. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual, my mind already racing. I went to the kitchen, made coffee, and stood at the window while the coffee maker hummed. After a few minutes, I picked up my phone and called her grandmother. She answered on the second ring. I was hoping you would call, she said. Her voice sounded tired but steady. Mrs. Brooks, I wanted to thank you for what you said yesterday. I told her. You did not have to say anything, but you did. I appreciate it more than I can explain. Do not thank me, she said. I only said what needed to be said. That girl has been out of line for too long. She sighed. I love my granddaughter, but love does not mean ignoring the truth. I sat down at the kitchen table. How much did you know about how she talks about me? I asked. The question came out quieter than I intended. There was a pause on the line. Enough, she said finally. Her mother mentioned things over the years. Little comments here and there about how you were not ambitious enough, not social enough, not good enough in one way or another. I always thought it was strange, considering you were the one working steady and paying the bills. but I did not know about the loans until the bank called. She told them I was not ambitious. I said slowly, "That sounds about right." I felt a dull ache in my chest. "Why did you wait until Thanksgiving to say something?" "Because I need to see it with my own eyes," she said. And when she stood at that table calling you useless in front of the whole family, I knew I had heard enough. That kind of disrespect does not get better with time. It only gets worse. I am old, Malcolm. I have seen enough marriages to know which ones are already broken. I heard movement upstairs. A door opened and closed softly. "I am thinking about filing for separation," I said. Saying it out loud made it feel more real. "Good," she said without hesitation. "You should. I have been married 56 years. I know what a partnership looks like. What you two have is not it. My granddaughter may not see it now, but she needs to face the consequences of how she has been treating you. Her parents might not see it that way," I said. "They might blame me." I rubbed my forehead with my thumb and forefinger. "Her parents know exactly what she is," Mrs. Brooks said. "They are just too polite to say it out loud. But after yesterday, nobody can pretend anymore. Sometimes the truth has to be dragged onto the table and set down between the plates." We talked for a few more minutes before I heard footsteps on the stairs. "I should go," I said. "Thank you again. For everything. Call me if you need anything," she said. "I mean that. You are not alone." I ended the call just as Aisha came into the kitchen. She looked exhausted, her eyes puffy from crying, her hair pulled back in a loose bun. "Who was that?" she asked, although I could tell she already knew. "Your grandmother," I said. "She was checking on me." I poured coffee into a mug and set the pot back on the warmer. "Of course she was," Aisha said bitterly. She poured herself coffee without looking at me. I am sure she had plenty to say. My own grandmother taking her side. That is just perfect. "She is not taking sides," I said. "She is calling out bad behavior. That is what she did last night. That is what she did just now." I took a sip of coffee and set the mug down. Aisha slammed the coffee pot into the machine a little too hard. "Can we not do this right now?" she asked. I barely slept. "Neither did I said. I sat at the table and watched her sit down across from me, her shoulders slumped. "So what happens now?" she asked. She stared into her coffee as if it could give her answers. "You are serious about this separation thing?" "Yes," I said. "I am." There was no hesitation in my voice. She stared at her coffee. "My mother called me last night," she said. "She thinks I owe you an apology." She said the word apology like it tasted bad. "Do you?" I asked. She looked up. "Do you want me to apologize?" she asked. "Is that what you were waiting for? Some perfect sentence that makes this all go away?" "Only if you mean it," I said. I did not want empty words. I have heard enough of those. I folded my hands on the table and waited. She sighed. "Fine," she said. "I am sorry. I should not have said those things at dinner. I was out of line." She stared at me, clearly expecting that to be enough. I waited. She frowned. "What?" she asked. I said I am sorry. "That is not enough," I said. "You are apologizing because you got caught, not because you understand what you did. You are sorry about the fallout, not about the years of disrespect that came before it." "Oh my God," she said, standing up abruptly. "What do you want from me? You want me to grovel? To beg?" I said I am sorry. "You are acting like there is nothing I can do to fix this." Her voice rose again. "You have been disrespecting me for years," I said. "An apology does not fix that. A few sentences do not erase all the times you ran me down when I was not there. This is not about one moment. It is about a pattern. So nothing I say will matter," she said. "You have already made up your mind." She grabbed her phone from the counter. "I'm going to my parents' house. I cannot deal with this right now." "That is fine," I said. "Take whatever you need." I felt strangely calm. She stopped at the door. "You are making a mistake," she said. "When you're ready to talk like adults, let me know." Then she walked out and closed the door firmly behind her. The house went quiet again. I spent the rest of the morning going through her finances. I pulled out bank statements, credit card bills, and loan documents and spread them across the dining table. Everything important was in my name, except her student loans, which I had been paying like a fool. Seeing the numbers laid out in front of me made everything feel even clearer. Around noon, my phone rang. It was her mother. I hesitated, then answered. "Hello," I said. "Malcolm, it is Denise," she said. "I am not trying to take sides." Her voice sounded strained and tired. "It is all right," Mrs. Jackson, I said. I understand. I fully expected her to defend her daughter. No, you do not, she said. She let out a long sigh. I need to apologize. I have known for a while that she was not being fair to you. I should have said something sooner. That is on me. That caught me off guard. You knew? I asked. About what she was saying? Not everything, Denise said. But enough. The way she talked about you when you were not around. The comments about money, about you not doing enough. I thought it was just marriage stress. I did not realize how deep it went until yesterday. When my mother spoke up, it all clicked. She told me you think Aisha owes me an apology. I said. She does, Denise said. A genuine one. But honestly, I do not think she understands why. She thinks yesterday was about her being embarrassed. She does not see that she has been treating you terribly for a very long time. That is the real issue. That is the problem, I said. She does not see it. She is more upset about how she looks than about what she did. I know, Denise said. And I am sorry. My mother was right. You do deserve better. I wish things had not gone this far. But I also cannot blame you for where you are now. Her voice broke slightly on the last words. We talked for another 10 minutes before she had to go. After we hung up, I sat there staring at the phone. Her own mother was on my side. Her grandmother had publicly told me to divorce her. Aisha was at her parents' house, probably trying to convince them I was overreacting, and they were not buying it as easily as she hoped. I picked up the phone again and called a family law attorney my coworker Leon had recommended months ago when someone in the office was going through a messy divorce. I had saved the number without thinking I would ever use it. Now my hand dialed it almost on its own. The receptionist answered with a practiced professional tone and scheduled me for a consultation on Monday morning. When I hung up, I felt oddly lighter, like I had finally stepped through a door I'd been staring at for years. When Aisha came home that evening, she was calmer but still defensive. She stood in the doorway of the living room and folded her arms. I talked to my parents, she said. They think we should try counseling before making any big decisions. I have an appointment with a lawyer on Monday, I said. I did not soften it, and I did not apologize for it. Her face went white. You what? She said. You are actually doing this? You are actually going to a lawyer? Yes, I said. I'm not interested in counseling. I am interested in ending this marriage. The words sounded heavy in the room, but they felt right in my mouth. You cannot be serious, she said. You are actually going through with this. Over one family dinner that got out of hand. Over a misunderstanding. She shook her head in disbelief. Over years of disrespect that culminated in you humiliating me at Thanksgiving dinner, I said. Yes, I am serious. I stood up, not to threaten her, but because I could not stay seated any longer. This is insane, she said. You are throwing away everything because I made one mistake. It was not one mistake, I said. It was a pattern. And yesterday, your family finally saw it. You cannot pretend it is all in my head anymore. Her eyes filled with tears again. She sat down slowly. I cannot believe this is happening, she said. I never thought you would actually leave. I thought we were solid. She looked genuinely confused, as if her actions and the consequences were unrelated. Believe it, I said, because it's happening. I walked past her without waiting for a response and went upstairs. I heard her sit there in silence for a long time before she finally moved. Monday morning, I met with the attorney. His name was Mr. Coleman. He was in his 50s, calm and professional, with a kind of steady presence that made it easier to talk about ugly things. His office in downtown Houston was all quiet colors and framed degrees. Tell me about your situation, he said, clicking his pen and opening a yellow legal pad. Start from where it makes sense to you. I laid it all out. The Thanksgiving dinner, the years of financial support, the public humiliation, the student loans, the pattern of disrespect. He took notes, nodded occasionally, and asked a few clarifying questions without interrupting the flow too much. Do you own property together? He asked when I finished. The house is in my name, I said. I bought it before we got married. She moved in after the wedding. The mortgage is in my name only. I have been making the payments myself. Joint bank accounts? He asked. One checking account, I said. I deposit my paycheck there. She has access, but she rarely uses it for bills. Mostly shopping, personal expenses, some subscription services. I have records for all of that. Any children? He asked. No, I said. We do not have children. For the first time, I felt grateful for that. He leaned back in his chair. This should be straightforward then, he said. No children. The property is separate and predates the marriage, and you can document the loan payments. Do you want to pursue any of that money back, or do you just want out? I just want out, I said. I do not care about the money at this point. I just want my life back. That makes it easier, he said. We can file for a simple dissolution. If she contests it, it becomes more complicated, but based on what you have told me, she does not have much ground to stand on. Her lawyer might try to argue contributions to the household, but if you have receipts and records, that will help. She said she will not make it easy, I said. She told me that. He gave a small, knowing smile. They always say that at the beginning, he said. Most of the time, they calm down once they see the paperwork. Anger is expensive in divorce court. Fear of losing money often brings people back to reality. I signed a retainer agreement and left his office feeling lighter than I had in days. The walk back to my car felt different. The city noise seemed a little less overwhelming. For the first time, I could see a version of my life that did not include constant criticism. When I got home that evening, Aisha was waiting in the living room. She stood as soon as I walked in. Where were you? She asked. At the lawyer's office, I said. I told you I had an appointment. I set my keys on the table. So you actually did it, she said. You actually hired a lawyer. She shook her head. Fine. Two can play that game. I called a lawyer too. Her tone was defiant, but her eyes were nervous. Good, I said. You should have representation. That threw her off for a moment. You are not even going to fight me on this, she asked. On me getting a lawyer? Fight you on what? I asked. Getting a lawyer is your right. I want this to be fair. I want it to be clear. I want it to be over. I could feel her frustration rising. I mean on the divorce, she said. You are not going to try to work things out. You are not going to fight for our marriage at all. No, I said. I am not. The simplicity of the answer seemed to hit her harder than a long explanation would have. She paced the room. My lawyer said I could go after the house, she said. Community property and all that. Contributions to the household. I have rights here too, Malcolm. The house was mine before we got married, I said. Your lawyer should have told you that matters. You have not contributed to the mortgage or any major improvements. You're welcome to try, but I have receipts for everything. Every payment, every major purchase, every repair. I keep records. Her confidence wavered. You kept receipts? She asked. I keep records of everything, I said. Always have. I watched her sit back down slowly, processing that. Why are you being so cold about this? She asked. It is like you flipped a switch. One day you were my husband, and now you are this stranger. Her voice trembled. I'm not being cold, I said. I'm being practical. You made it clear how you feel about me. I'm just accepting it and moving forward. It was not that I felt nothing. It was that I finally believed what her actions have been telling me for years. I never said I do not love you, she said. You are acting like I never cared at all. You did not have to say it, I said. You showed it every time you disrespected me, dismissed me, or lied about me to your family. Actions matter more than words. You taught me that. She was quiet for a moment. My dad called today, she said finally. He thinks I should just let you go. He said I burned the bridge, and there is no rebuilding it. Her voice was small. Your dad is a smart man, I said. He sees what is happening. I did not say it to hurt her. It was simply true. Everyone is taking your side, she said. My whole family. Do you know how that feels? Her eyes filled again. I know exactly how it feels, I said. I felt it every time you put me down in front of them, and they said nothing. Every time you told stories that made me sound incompetent, and they laughed. Now they finally see the other side. She wiped her eyes. I really messed this up, did I not? She asked. Yes, I said. You did. There was no satisfaction in saying it, only clarity. And there is nothing I can do to fix it, she said. No, I said. There is not. She stood up slowly. Then I guess we are done talking, she said. I guess we are, I replied. She went upstairs. A few minutes later, I heard her on the phone in the guest room, probably calling her lawyer back, probably trying to salvage what she could. I sat in the living room and opened my laptop. Mr. Coleman had emailed me a list of documents to gather. Bank statements, tax returns, proof of separate property, records of loan payments. I started organizing everything into folders, printing what needed printing, scanning what needed scanning. The more I worked, the more in control I felt. My phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Brooks appeared on the screen. How did it go with the lawyer? She asked. Good. I replied. We are moving forward. Proud of you, she texted back. This is the right choice. I set the phone down and kept working. The sooner I gathered everything, the sooner the process would move. For the first time in years, I felt like I was steering my own life instead of being dragged along in someone else's story. The paperwork moved faster than I expected. Within 2 weeks, Mr. Coleman filed the dissolution petition. Aisha was served at her parents' house, where she had been staying most nights. Her lawyer contacted mine with a list of demands that read more like a wish list. She wanted half the value of the house, spousal support, and reimbursement for emotional distress. Mr. Coleman called me after reviewing it. This is a fantasy list, he said. She has no legal basis for most of this. So what do we do? I asked. We respond with the facts, he said. Property acquired before marriage, documented separate finances, and no grounds for spousal support since you both work and the marriage was relatively short-term. Her lawyer is fishing to see what he can get. We will not bite. Will this go to court? I asked. Only if she wants to waste money, he said. Most likely, her lawyer will explain reality to her, and she will settle. A judge will not look kindly on someone who misrepresented finances and contributed very little. He was right. 3 days later, her lawyer sent a revised proposal. She dropped the house claim and the emotional distress demand. She only wanted to keep her car and personal belongings. Mr. Coleman nodded when he read it. That is reasonable, he said. I recommend we accept and move forward. I agreed. I did not want revenge. I wanted closure. By early December, we had a settlement. She would take her car, her clothes, and any furniture she wanted from the guest room. I would keep the house, my car, and everything else. She would assume responsibility for her own student loans going forward. No spousal support. No drama, at least not officially. The day we signed the final papers, I saw her in the parking lot of the lawyer's office. She looked smaller somehow, tired and deflated, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, her coat wrapped tightly around her. Can we talk for a minute? She asked. Her voice was quieter than I was used to hearing it. If you want, I said. We sat on a bench outside the building. The air was cold, but neither of us suggested going back inside. The silence stretched between us for a long moment. I talked to my therapist, she said finally. My mother pushed me to go after everything that happened. She said I needed to figure out why I kept tearing people down. The therapist thinks I have issues with self-worth, that I put you down to make myself feel better. She said I turned you into a mirror I could crack without looking at my own reflection. That sounds about right, I said. I did not say it to be cruel. It was simply honest. I am working on it, Aisha said, for what it is worth. She looked down at her hands. I know that does not change anything between us. I know it does not fix what I did. But I wanted you to know I am not pretending anymore. That is good, I said. You should work on it. For yourself. For whoever comes next. For the people who still love you. I meant it. She looked at me. Do you hate me? She asked. No, I said. I'm disappointed. But I do not hate you. Hate would mean I am still holding on to something. I am not. My grandmother still will not talk to me, she said. My mother barely does. My father just looks at me like he is ashamed. I deserve it, but still hurts. She let out a small, bitter laugh. You sound pretty sure they will forgive me someday. They will, I said. They will come around eventually. Families do. They're good people. They just need time to process what happened. I never meant for things to get this bad, she said. I thought I was just venting. I did not realize how much damage I was doing. I thought you were fine. I thought you knew I was just talking. That is the problem, I said. You did not realize. And by the time you did, it was too late. Words do not disappear just because they were said in a living room or around a dinner table. Would anything have changed your mind? She asked. If I had apologized sooner, been more honest sooner, if I had gone to therapy earlier, would it have mattered? She watched my face closely. I thought about it. Maybe, I said slowly, if you had shown me you actually understood what you did wrong. But every conversation we had after Thanksgiving, you were more focused on managing the fallout than actually taking responsibility. You wanted the problem to go away, not to understand it. She nodded slowly. You were probably right, she said. That sounds like me. We sat in silence for a moment, listening to the distant traffic. What are you going to do now? I asked. It felt strange to ask, but also natural. Move in with my parents for a while, she said. Save some money. Figure out how to pay those loans myself. I picked up extra hours at work. I might take a part-time evening job too. My therapist says I need to stop relying on other people to clean up my messes. You will manage, I said. You are not helpless. You never were. She nodded. Will you manage? She asked. On your own. In the house. With the holidays coming. I will be fine, I said. I'm already better than I was. That is the truth. I stood up. Take care of yourself, Aisha. She stood too. Well, she said, pulling her coat tighter. I guess this is it. I guess so, I said. She walked to her car without looking back. I watched her drive away, then went inside to sign the last of the documents. Mr. Coleman shook my hand. Congratulations, he said. You are officially single. Thank you, I said. He asked if I had any plans for the holidays. I told him I planned to have quiet ones. Just me and some peace and quiet. He smiled and said that sounded perfect. I drove home in the early afternoon. The house felt different now. Emptier, but not in a bad way. She had taken the guest room furniture and some kitchen items. The spaces she left behind felt like blank pages instead of wounds. That evening, Mrs. Brooks called. I heard it is final, she said. As of this morning. Yes, I said. How are you holding up? She asked. Better than I expected, I said. I feel relieved, honestly. Good, she said. That is how you should feel. You did the right thing. Have you talked to her? Not since we signed, I said. She is working on herself. That is what she told me. I hope that is true. For her sake. I'm still angry, Mrs. Brooks said. But she's my granddaughter. I will talk to her eventually. I love her, but I do not like what she did to you. She knows she messed up. For what that is worth. It is worth something, I said. Not enough to fix the marriage, but something. We talked for a while longer. She invited me to Christmas dinner, which surprised me. You do not have to do that, I said. I do not want to cause more tension. I want to, she said. You are family, divorce or not. Plus, it will drive her a little crazy knowing I invited you. She laughed softly. I laughed too. I appreciate the offer, I said. But I think I will pass. Let her have her family back. I do not need to make things more complicated. You are a better person than most, she said. She is lucky you are being so graceful about all this, even if she cannot see it. I'm just ready to move on, I said. After we hung up, I sat in the living room with a beer and looked around. This was my space now, completely mine. No more walking on eggshells. No more criticism disguised as jokes. No more wondering if I was good enough. I scrolled through messages on my phone. A few friends had reached out after hearing about the divorce. One buddy invited me to a poker night next week. Another suggested grabbing lunch and catching up. I responded to both. Yes to poker. Yes to lunch. Yes to moving forward. The house was quiet, but it was a good quiet. The kind where you can hear your own thoughts without fear of being mocked. The kind where you can breathe without waiting for the next complaint. I finished the beer and went to bed early, the first night in a long time when I did not fall asleep with a knot in my chest. 3 months later, I was doing better than I had in years. The house was completely mine now, not just in paperwork but in feeling. I repainted the guest room and turned it into a home office. I bought a new desk and a comfortable chair, hung a few framed photos, and put a plant near the window. The space felt like an extension of who I actually was. Work was good. Same job, same routine, but without the constant stress of going home to criticism. My boss noticed the change. One afternoon, he called me into his office and said, "You seem more focused lately, Malcolm. Whatever you are doing, keep it up." I just smiled and said I would. I reconnected with friends I had slowly drifted away from during the marriage. Poker nights at my friend Reggie's place became a regular thing. We played, talked trash about the game, and laughed about old times. No one at that table saw me as a joke or a burden. I started going to the gym with Leon a few mornings a week. Nothing intense, just staying active, feeling my body wake up in new ways. Mrs. Brooks and I stayed in touch. She would call every few weeks to check in. She eventually started talking to Aisha again, but she kept those conversations separate from ours. One afternoon in February, she told me she is doing all right. She has her own apartment now, finally dealing with those loans. She asks about you sometimes. What do you tell her? I asked. That you're doing well, she said. Because you are. You sound lighter every time we talk. I thanked her. I meant it. I ran into Denise at the grocery store in March. It was awkward for about 10 seconds. Then she smiled. You look good, she said. Healthier. She glanced at the items in my cart and laughed softly. And you are eating real food. That is a good sign. Thanks, I said. How have you been? Good, she said. Busy with the grandkids. They keep me on my toes. My mother too. She has more opinions than ever. She hesitated. I'm glad you're doing well. You deserve it. I appreciate that, I said. She is learning, Denise added quietly. Slowly, but she is learning. It is not easy for her to look in the mirror, but she is trying. That is good to hear, I said. We chatted for a few more minutes before going our separate ways. It was not uncomfortable in the end, just two people who used to be connected, acknowledging that life moves on. I never ran into Aisha directly. I heard through Mrs. Brooks that she was working 2 jobs now to cover her expenses. She was dating someone new, although it was not serious. She was going to therapy regularly. Part of me was glad she was getting help. Another part of me did not care either way. She was not my responsibility anymore. That weight was gone. By spring, I barely thought about the marriage. When I did, it felt like remembering something that had happened to someone else. The guy who paid his wife's loans while she told everyone he was useless felt like a different person. I was not that guy anymore. I had been him, but I had grown past him. One Saturday in April, I was working in the yard when my neighbor Reggie walked over, wiping his hands on a towel. Hey, Malcolm, he said. I'm having a barbecue next weekend. You should come. Bring whoever you want. I will be there, I said. Just me, though. Works for me, Reggie said. My wife's sister Camille will be there. She is single, if you're interested. He gave me a half-teasing smile. I laughed. I'm not really looking for anything right now, I said. But I will come for the food. Fair enough, he said. The offer stands if you change your mind. Camille is good people. She does not bite. He headed back to his yard. The barbecue is easy and casual. Reggie manned the grill while his wife Tanisha passed out plates and kept an eye on the kids. Camille was there. She was funny and sharp, with a warm laugh. We talked about work, music, and favorite movies. Nothing heavy. No drama. At one point, she said, You seem really calm. That is rare these days. Calm is new for me, I said. I like it. She smiled and gave me her number before she left. I said I would text her. Maybe I would. Maybe I would not. The point was that I could choose without worrying about how someone back home would twist it. That night, I sat on my back deck with a beer and looked at the yard. I had planted some new trees in March. They were small now, just thin trunks and a few clusters of leaves, but they would grow. I would be here to see it. The sky was streaked with orange and pink as the sun went down. My phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Brooks appeared. Thinking about you. Hope you are well, she wrote. Doing great, I typed back. Hope you are too. Always, she replied. You are a good man. Do not forget that. I set the phone down and finished my beer. The world felt steady. The evening was quiet except for birds and the distant sound of someone mowing their lawn. This was my life now. Simple. Peaceful. Mine. No drama. No constant criticism. No walking on eggshells or wondering if I was enough. I was enough. I had always been enough. It just took losing someone who could not see it to finally believe it myself. I went inside, locked up, and turned off the lights. Tomorrow I was meeting Leon for breakfast, then working on the office some more. Normal things. Good things. As I got ready for bed, I thought briefly about that Thanksgiving dinner. I saw Mrs. Brooks standing up, her voice cutting through the noise. I saw the look on Aisha's face when her lies finally caught up to her. But I did not feel anger anymore. I did not feel resentment. I felt grateful. Grateful that her grandmother cared enough to speak up. Grateful that I listened when she told me the truth. Grateful that I had the strength to walk away instead of accepting scraps and calling it love. I lay down, closed my eyes, and let the quiet settle around me. Life was good, and it was only getting better. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.